Hey everybody, welcome back. How you doing? It's good to be here again with you, as it were. Um, Not been an easy time for anybody, but we're now about to embark on version 2.0 of the distance learning. I'm pretty sure that you guys have gotten some notifications and some bulletins about this new version of distance learning that we are attempting to work with. It's going to be a little more concentrated on what we've been doing curriculum wise. That is, some of the lessons that we did in the past and some of the new material that is coming up in some of the units before the end of the year. We're not going to continue with our dystopian literature per se. We're going to move on to another unit which is very, very, very close to this um, dystopian literature. I'm sorry, a little freeze there. It's kind of like the other side of the coin, and it's called rhetorical analysis. I know that's a mouthful, right? Rhetorical from rhetoric, right? Questions, speaking publicly, and an analysis, right? Figure out what it's all about. Take it apart. Right? So rhetorical analysis is really about persuading people. How do you convince people of an idea? Right? Rhetorical analysis. We're going to be looking at propaganda, and if you recall, propaganda is a major characteristic of the dystopian literature that we have been looking at in class, and it's also part of advertisements, right? Commercials, TV and print commercials, right? And there is another component to all that, and it's called appeal, logical appeal. And we'll get into that. But I wanted to mention also that we're going to be looking at uh, ideas in logic and logical fallacies. Well, once again, with the mouthful. Well, I think you guys know what logic is. And a fallacy is just a mistake or an error, right? And in rhetoric, which is basically public speaking and argument or debate, or persuasion, there are errors in an argument. We're going to be looking at some of those errors or some of those fallacies as we move along because in propaganda and in advertising, there are sometimes a number of these particularly interesting logical fallacies, right? I'm not going to go into too much depth with the fallacies right this moment. What I want to do is I want to introduce you to a couple of things. We're going to be using a lot of technology, new technology. Uh, for example, the Screencastify here that I'm sharing this video with, and we'll be using most likely stuff like Zoom or Google Hangouts, which is a video streaming um, application, kind of like a video conference. And we're going to be using a site called Flipgrid, which is a sort of video messaging center. All right. I have already put up two Flipgrid topics. The first one here on your Google Classroom is an introduction. Right. You're going to click on the link and it should take you to a page. Here we go. Right, you'll see this, and you're going to log in with your Google ID. Right, and I'm using my Google ID from school. All right, and you're going to get a page that looks like this. Okay, so you'll scroll down and you'll see this waving little Giphy and these two prompts. Say hello. Hey, hola, ¿qué tal? What's up? Yo. And then tell us all a little something about your experiences over the last few weeks, right? And this shouldn't be frozen. I'm going to have to unfreeze that. Alrighty. So what you're going to do is this is going to turn into a green circle with a plus sign, meaning you can add a response. All right. I forgot to do that before starting this recording, but that will be ready for you ASAP as soon as I finish this recording. My apologies for that. Okay. So when you're finished with that, you just have to um, submit it. Okay, and then there's another one here above. Hopefully, I didn't freeze that one either. All right, a short little question. What do you know about commercials? Advertisements, whether on television or the internet, in a newspaper or a magazine. What do you know about these commercials? Okay, so you're going to answer that, and it's going to be the same thing. Click on the link. You're going to go in with your Google account. That is your Paramus Google account, of course. All right, and tell me a little bit about what do you know about the techniques used by advertisers. Okay, and this is the image that I was talking about, right? So you're going to be able to click on this and you can record your response, your video response. And please remember that the entire class is going to see these responses. So let's be appropriate, all right? Awesome. Okay, now what I am going to ask you to do, right? Because since you are period one, right, you're a morning class, which means it is your primary learning week, which means you're going to have a little something to do every day. And then the following week, you're going to be what is extension learning week. All right, so that's going to be just maybe some review or some previews, and the workload is not going to be as heavy, right? So it's going to be an alternating thing. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do, and this will be going up on Google Classroom shortly, there are a number of terms, vocabulary terms that are important to this unit that you may not be familiar with. So I want to show you what some of these terms are, right? And I'll tell you what I want you to do, okay? There are 14 terms here that I think you need to be very, very familiar with so that when we continue with this unit, you won't be, oh boy, what does that mean? I'm asking you to look at these 14 terms, and I want you to find the definition to these terms, okay? Rhetoric, rhetorical, propaganda, persuasion, manipulation, testimonial, logic, transfer, deliberately or deliberate, absolute, volition, morality, propagate, propagation, and I'll tell you that it is related to propaganda or propaganda related to propagation, and mass media. All right, so look up those terms, and then in your own words, I want you to write them down here, or I should say, looking at my keyboard. All right, what you're going to do is you're just going to paste them in, right, in your own words. Okay, we're we're not going to cut and paste. Alrighty, we don't do that. Alrighty, so your assignment for today, Monday, April 13, is to do the two flip grid questions and these 14 terms. All right. As always, you know that if you're not sure, you can always get in touch with me between 7:40 in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, regular school hours. When the time is right, we'll hear from administration. We may even be able to do a Zoom video conference where we can discuss the material, frequently ask questions about the material. So that's sort of coming up pretty soon. All right, so there you have it. All right, awesome.